and welcome back to Taking Life Offline. I'm Carly Burr. I'm looking so forward to today's episode. I'm going to be sharing an incredibly relatable response about the struggle to go offline that I received to an email that I had sent a while back to those of you who I had the joy of being connected with through my letter I call the Offline Diaries. Before I share the response I received from Faye, I'll share the message that I sent out first to give some context. I said, "Hey there, I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with people around social media that sound like this. Yeah, social media is terrible. We self-satisfy through our platforms. I'm guilty of it. It was so nice to play card games with my family. I miss that. The only reason I have it is to have a place for my photos. Isn't that what your photo app on your phone is for? Nice excuse. I actually hate social media. I don't know why I have it. Have you seen so-and-so? She's this and that. I don't even know why I follow her, but I feel like I have to just to see the crazy things she does. Need I continue? Yet everyone seems to go on with their lives accepting they have an addiction or a problem with these online platforms and not giving their time and attention to what matters. But they don't think about it again for a while until it's brought up. Why? Everyone knows it's a problem, but why is it just acceptable? It seems like people just shrug their shoulders and keep drinking the poison. I'm enlisting your opinion. Why do you think this is? Is it too big of a problem to tackle? Too much of a guilty pleasure? Too enjoyable? I don't know. I have a hard time wrapping my head around it. I don't know about you, but I've seen and heard enough. I can't sit back and not try my best to help people realize that just because everyone and their dog literally has a social media account doesn't mean you have to. How many more studies need to come out about teens, even adults, being more anxious and depressed at alarming rates than ever before? Is it coincidence that the rise in these things and the rise in social media align almost perfectly? I think not. So here I am taking my stand, wondering how to understand people's justification and thought process around speeding down a path that they know likely leads to a cliff. I'd appreciate any of your insight or thoughts on this topic. XX Carly. So that was my message. And before we get into Faye's response to that message, I'd love to hear what your response to this email would be. Shoot me a message at carly@carlyburr.com and let's continue the conversation because it's still something I'm trying to understand so that I can better help. And maybe I'll do another episode on this topic sharing your response once you respond to the question after listening today. All right, now let's hear Faye's response to my email. She says, "Hi Carly, this came at the right time. It's insane. Just this morning I deleted my Instagram account because I had an epiphany about it. Let me explain my dilemma. I've realized how toxic social media was since I was about 16. I'm now 20. However, I could never bring myself to permanently stay off Instagram. I've deleted and created nearly up to 10, maybe even more, Instagram accounts because I would delete it, feel good, then feel lonely, then create a new account to feel connected to people and less alone. And this has been a constant cycle for 4 years. I acknowledge it's a genuine addiction I have. I love the buzz of someone interacting with me, and I do love seeing photos of people at times. But then there's the other side of it that drains me. The idea of everyone having their eyes on me, the comparisons, the fact that I started to feel like my life was performative and every memory and life experience I had was potential content for my social media. I started to realize how much anxiety it was giving me. I never knew living life could be so complex until I joined social media. Just this morning, I was saying to myself, why can I not enjoy a memory without whipping out my phone and documenting it? Why do I care so much about how I look while doing something instead of just enjoying what I'm doing without worrying about how I'm perceived? And I have these thoughts all the time. It sucks because my generation is on social media a lot, and without it, I feel disconnected. I skipped university and still live at home with parents. And with all my friends off to university, I can't help but to feel so alone and behind. So honestly, I kept my Instagram and to still feel connected with people my age. The silence of my day without social media really scared me. It's as though being online was a comfort for me, knowing I'm digitally connected to the world. but I hate it. I know without social media, I'd be more productive. I would stop comparing my journey to others. I would focus more on living my life and being present without feeling the need to show and tell. But then those lonely days creep in and I crave those nights of just scrolling on Instagram and seeing what everyone else is up to. It's a really toxic cycle that I'm trying to break. I've deleted my Instagram now. It permanently deletes after 30 days, so I've still got a chance to log back in. But I know if I don't strengthen my self-discipline, I'll just go back into the cycle. I really want to know how I can be off of social media and still feel content with my life and not so lonely. Any advice will be useful, please. I'm also a Christian too, so spiritual advice would be great. Thank you, Carly. All right, can you relate or can you relate? She pretty much hit the nail on the head for almost every person I hear from who's wanting to leave social media but hasn't been able to successfully stay off, due largely to one, if not all, of the reasons that Faye shared. And let me be the very first to say that I hear you. These feelings that you have are real and they are super hard. And you are far, far, far away from being alone in this feeling. So let's break down her response and talk through these more than valid concerns. So first, she's saying she's created nearly up to 10 Instagram accounts, maybe more, because of ultimately loneliness. She'd go offline, she'd feel lonely, so she'd go back online. Honestly, I totally get how you would be feeling lonely at 20 years old and all your peers are online and off to university and you're still home and feeling like you're behind, like you're missing out and wanting to feel part of what they're doing off in the world, keeping up with them online. It makes honestly complete sense. But here's what I would say to Faye. I'm not sure the reasons behind not heading off to university, and that doesn't necessarily matter. If you decided to stay home at this time, there's nothing wrong with that, and you're not behind. Everyone is on their own journey. Everyone chooses their own path. Yours right now doesn't include university, and that doesn't mean at all that you are behind. It just means that you are on a different path, your path. I can actually relate to this particular concern in a way, because when I graduated high school, I spent the summer at home. Then I moved about 2 hours north to a university, and I went alone. I didn't go with any of my friends. I wanted a fresh start. So let me tell you, when I got there, I instantly felt like, this is not where I'm supposed to be. Starting college was never something that I was super looking forward to. I didn't really enjoy the academic side of high school. In fact, I got pretty poor grades and I just barely graduated because I quite frankly did not care about school at all. Why did I think this would change with college? But to keep a long story short, 3 semesters at 3 different universities later, and I found myself back at home with my parents going, why did I think it was the university that was the problem? I just kept changing locations, but clearly university just was not my path. So here I am now at home, well, back then at home, dating my high school boyfriend and getting married at 20 years old, starting a decent paying internship that quickly turned into a job, then a promotion. And I found myself working with people who were all recent college graduates. And there I found myself not feeling behind at all, feeling like I almost took some sort of shortcut because I never went and graduated, but I was working with all those people who had graduated. And I was enjoying my settled down life while most people my age were at university just living it up. But let me point something out, and if you were paying attention, you might have actually noticed this. I was taking a lot of action at this time in my life. I was moving around geographically. I didn't go into all the details, but I was interviewing for jobs and taking jobs and leaving them until I found where I felt like I should be. I was nonstop taking new action at this time in my life until I found and fell into alignment with God's plan for me. So Faye, whatever your decision was to stay home and not go to university, get behind that and find confidence in your choice. Take pride in your path. Although you might not know where it will lead you right now, with consistent action towards what feels right at the time and being prayerful about it, you can get over the feeling of feeling like you're behind, because you're not just at home sitting there watching all your peers live their lives. You're actually living yours too, just in your way. I know comparing paths is really hard not to do, But if you truly believe you're on your own journey and you're daily, actively in the details of that, you will gain confidence through your actions. I have no doubt about that. And to touch on the loneliness factor, this is one of the hard truths about life offline. You're going to have to get out there and make connections through a job, through a hobby, through putting yourself out there and going out with the intent to look for someone who could potentially be your friend. You'll begin to see opportunities and see people and situations differently than if you weren't going out with the intent to look for friends. You will have to create a community offline or find one that already exists near you. It does require effort though, and it's going to require some discomfort, and on your end it will be uncomfortable, but I promise once you get past that, it is all worth it. So Faye also mentioned that she loves the buzz of someone interacting with her online, but the other side of that, the thought of everyone's eyes on her, feels draining. So she started to feel like her life was performative, and every memory and life experience she had was potential content for social media. Is making her feel anxious. She so profoundly worded this as, I never knew life could be so complex until I joined social media. And that is what I wanted to speak to. First of all, this is truth. Social media can make life feel so complex. I think this is largely due to the fact that you have access to the world there. You can literally see what people from anywhere are doing at any given time. You open the app and you're no longer just in the small town, and wherever you're living, you're anywhere and you're everywhere in the world. So when she said the silence of my day without social media really scared me, it's as though being online was a comfort for me, knowing I'm digitally connected to the world. Of course, silence feels scary. When you're used to living in Times Square in New York City, so to speak, moving out to Missoula, Montana would be a shock to anyone's system, and for sure uncomfortable for a while. And I honestly don't even know if Missoula, Montana is a small town. It just sounds like it'd be opposite of New York City. But let's not forget to touch on the feeling of comfort that she had in knowing that you're digitally connected to the world. This is something that I actually hear all the time, and I think it's because we've gotten so accustomed to this information overload, to this view that's much larger than the town or the state or even the country that we're living in. We've gotten so used to being everywhere all at once, we've forgotten how to be here, where we actually are in this exact moment. And that's a huge part of life offline. It's to bring us back to this exact moment. So Faye's feelings are, again, so incredibly valid. She's found comfort in what she knows, and what she knows is being connected to the world. So when we're there and we're feeling lonely and we're seeking comfort, and what brings us comfort is going to what we know. What we know brings us pain. It's time to get to know something different, something new. This is where long-term perspective comes in handy, and where new habit experimentation and action until we can feel that comfort from something else comes in. Which brings us to the last point I wanted to point out from Faye's email. She says, I really want to know how I can be off social media and still feel content with my life and not so lonely. Any advice would be useful, please. She also included that she's Christian, so any spiritual advice would be great. I'm gonna start there. Get down on your knees and pray for strength. Ask the Lord to help you in your efforts to leave social media for good. And don't feel silly doing this. There's no matter too small to bring to the Lord. He cares about every detail of our lives, down to the smallest one. And this, my friend, is no small detail. Something that's helped me many times when I'm doing something hard or something uncomfortable, where I worry what people might be thinking of me, I often ask myself, what does God think of me? Would he be proud of me right now and this decision that I'm making? And when you ask that, and you know he would be proud of you and pleased with you and your efforts in action, nothing else matters. Thinking that way has honestly worked wonders for me. I'd also suggest that to break this cycle, she needs to take new action and experiment with new habits. This is absolutely key. If you want to have an outcome that you've never had, you've got to do things that you've never done before. So if what you tried hasn't been working, it's really time to think differently. It's time to think outside the box and act. Act is the key. Taking new and different action until you find what works for you. And remember to be patient with yourself, because this is definitely a process. Finally, if you want to feel content with your life without feeling lonely, I'd encourage you to find your people offline, to join a meetup, to reach out to an old friend who still lives nearby, to get out there. And I challenge you to work on finding and fulfilling God's will for you in your life. This means, again, taking new action prayerfully, and He will help you create a life where you feel confident and content with your own journey. So those are my heartfelt thoughts that I would share to Faye in response to her email back to me. I hope she's doing well and finding peace in her path as she navigates this thing we call life, and I hope she'll be able to do so offline as she wishes. I have confidence in you, Faye. I have no doubt in my mind that you can successfully go offline, but you'll have to have the expectation that this is going to be hard at first. But I know that you know you're capable of doing hard things. Now, I would love to hear what your response to the question that I asked in my email: why do people know social media is a problem for them, yet they just accept it? It seems people just shrug their shoulders and keep drinking the poison. Why do you think this is? Please send me an email at carly@carlyburr.com so we can start a conversation around this and I can share your thoughts in an upcoming episode. And even better, if you want to do like an audio recording, if you're comfortable. If not, just type it on out. But if you're comfortable doing an audio recording, then send me the audio of your answer to that question. I'm also going to challenge you to make answering this question the action step for today's episode. So open up your email address and address it to carly@carlyburr.com and send me your response to the question: why do people know social media is a problem for them, yet they just accept it? It seems people just shrug their shoulders and keep drinking the poison. Why do you think this is? Can't wait to hear your thoughts on this topic, because it continues to be something that I'm trying to study and I'm trying to really understand. So thank you so much for being here today. I hope this episode was relatable for you. Maybe you felt some of these things that Faye described in her email, and hopefully I was able to get through to you in some way, or at least give you something new and actionable to consider. Don't forget to leave an honest review on my podcast and follow my show if you haven't already. Thank you so much in advance. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will catch you next Monday.